You ever hear the phrase, betrayal cuts deeper than a knife? I used to think that was just some poetic crap people said to make themselves feel better after being screwed over. But no, it's real, it's sharp, and it doesn't heal right. My name is Marcus Halden. I'm 37 now. When all this started, I was 31, living in Chicago, and thought I had life mostly figured out. I had a decent job in IT consulting, a 2-bedroom condo, and a fiancée named Claire. She was the kind of woman who made you believe in second chances, beautiful in a quiet way. Freckles, subtle dimples, green eyes that always looked like they knew more than they let on. We were together for 5 years, and I trusted her. God, I trusted her. It started small. Claire began working late. At first, I believed the excuses. Meeting ran long. Sarah needed help finishing a project. My boss is a psycho. Nothing new in the corporate world. But over time, the rhythm changed. The lies got sloppy. Her perfume lingered too long when she came home. One night, I noticed a different cologne on her coat, something musky, not mine. I asked her, and she smiled like I was crazy. "You're being paranoid," she said. "You always do this when work gets stressful." But no, I didn't always do this. I'd never done this, ever. So I waited, watched. I'm not impulsive. I believe in data, evidence. So I did what I knew best. I started logging things. Times, locations, activity. I even installed a tracker on her phone when she left it unlocked one morning. I justified it. Told myself it was temporary, just enough to put my mind at ease. Instead, it broke everything. She was cheating with my best friend, Dylan. Dylan and I had been close since college. He was charismatic, cocky, one of those guys who always had a girl on his arm and a joke in his mouth. We drifted in and out of touch through our 20s, but reconnected hard a few years back. Weekly beers, poker nights, watching Bears games. He even helped me pick the ring for Claire. I looked up to him in a way. He was magnetic. Turned out, he was also a backstabbing bastard. The affair had been going on for 6 months. Hotel rooms, long weekends she claimed were work retreats, even a trip to Denver that I now know wasn't for a conference at all. The night I confronted her, she didn't even deny it. She just said, "I didn't mean for it to happen this way." I laughed. Not a funny laugh, more like a dead sound escaping from my throat. "How should it have happened, Claire?" No answer. Dylan texted me later that night. "I'm sorry, man, we didn't plan this. It just happened." I didn't reply. I didn't scream. I didn't go to his apartment with a bat like part of me wanted to. I just sat there, staring at my phone, thinking, you just became a problem to solve. That was the night I started planning. Revenge, not just for the betrayal, but for how cleanly and confidently they thought they'd get away with it. Revenge, if it's going to be done right, can't be emotional. You have to be patient, calm, clinical. Otherwise, you just burn everything down, including yourself. So I waited, moved out, cut contact, let them think I was crushed. I played the broken man. I even went to therapy just to keep up the act. I wanted them relaxed, complacent, thinking I'd just move on. And meanwhile, I started learning everything I could about both of them. Claire worked at a mid-sized marketing firm. She'd just been promoted to project manager. Dylan was in real estate development. He had his own company, small but growing. I knew the name, knew some of his clients, knew he did things a little off-book. Over the next year, I built 2 files, one on each of them. For Claire, I traced every online footprint she left, social media, emails, old chat logs I'd recovered. I even made a burner profile and befriended one of her coworkers, slowly drawing out info, who she talked to at work, how she got her promotion, who she pissed off on the way up. She had secrets, the kind that could ruin a reputation, like the time she pulled rank to take credit for someone else's pitch, or how she sometimes adjusted hours on her team's time logs to meet project deadlines, under pressure from her VP. Nothing illegal, but unethical enough, and I took screenshots, lots of them. Dylan was trickier, but not impossible. I found out he'd been fudging some permit dates on projects, claiming certain environmental tests had passed when they hadn't even been filed. He cut corners, used cheaper materials, paid contractors under the table. Again, not outright criminal, but enough to bury him with the right nudge. And while I built their profiles, I rebuilt myself. New job, new apartment, new habits. I took up boxing, grew leaner, sharper, stronger, quietly disappeared from the social circles we all used to share. I was becoming a ghost, a very focused one. One night, nearly 2 years after it all blew up, I saw them together in public. Some rooftop bar in the West Loop. She looked happy. He looked smug. They didn't see me, but I smiled, because I had everything I needed. I started with Dylan. He was the easier target, the one with the bigger ego. Men like him don't think they can lose. That's their weakness, pride, inflated like a balloon just begging for a needle. I anonymously tipped off the city planning office about some discrepancies in his last 2 development permits, posed as a disgruntled former contractor. I even included forged inspection photos I'd created by splicing images of failed building sites I'd pulled off old reports online. It worked. A week later, his latest condo project was red-tagged for review. Delays, re-inspections, fines. The whole process would bleed money, but I wasn't done. I used a second alias, Client Concerned 72, and posted a detailed exposé about his shady practices on a real estate forum. Nothing libelous, just questions and concerns that encouraged others to share. A few angry clients came out of the woodwork. Suddenly, Dylan was radioactive. I watched from a distance as his investors got nervous. One even pulled out. The damage wasn't fatal yet, but it was enough to make him panic. I'd sown the seed. He just didn't know who planted it. Then I moved to Claire. She'd just gotten a promotion to senior manager and was overseeing a major campaign for a luxury brand. Perfect. High stakes, lots of exposure, and more chances to fall publicly. Using the burner identity I'd already built months ago, Kelly Adams, the friendly coworker who'd become her teammate's online confidant, I sent an anonymous tip to HR. Included screenshots of Claire mocking a junior employee in a private Slack chat. Comments she thought were jokes, but read like bullying. Then I sent the same screenshots to the junior employee anonymously, adding, "I thought you deserved to know what she says behind your back." 2 days later, HR opened an investigation. Claire was pulled into meetings. She wasn't fired, but she was officially reprimanded. Her reputation at the firm took a hit. Still, I wanted more. She hadn't really suffered, not yet. So I went for the pressure point. They'd moved in together by now, a new loft in a newly gentrified part of Logan Square. I knew the landlord. He used to be a client of Dylan's. So I sent the landlord, again anonymously, some of the building inspection records I'd faked, linking them to Dylan's name. That got the lease reevaluated. A month later, Claire and Dylan were forced to move out due to compliance issues. Not a legal eviction, but a strong enough push that they didn't fight it. And the cracks began to show. They weren't the golden couple anymore. Claire hated moving. Dylan hated losing. I didn't have to bug their apartment to know they were fighting. I just knew. A year later, Dylan tried to launch a new project in Milwaukee. He pitched it as a revival of a rundown neighborhood, lots of investor-friendly buzzwords. But I'd already started poisoning the well. I'd sent anonymous packets to several mid-sized investors, filled with carefully curated reports, legal memos, and fake Yelp reviews from tenants of Dylan's earlier buildings. Enough to cast doubt on his track record. By the time he hosted his pitch event, the room was half empty. His tone changed. He stopped posting about growth and started posting about adapting to challenges. I knew he'd sunk a lot of personal money into the project, and without backers, he was bleeding. Claire, meanwhile, was scrambling at work. She'd narrowly avoided a second HR investigation after a whistleblower email, from me, of course, accused her of altering team performance metrics. I had screenshots, dates, even a fake audit report. Management swept it under the rug. She was still too valuable. But she didn't get the promotion she was gunning for, and people at the firm started keeping their distance. She was no longer Claire the rising star. She was a liability. I saw her one night, sitting alone at a coffee shop, typing furiously on her laptop. Same green eyes, same poise, but something in her posture had changed. She looked smaller. She looked like someone under pressure. Good. They still didn't know it was me. And that was the point. Revenge isn't about explosions, it's about corrosion. You rust someone from the inside out. You let them keep living, but worse. Worse than a breakup, worse than a fight. You make them question their own stability, their own reputation, their own sense of control. I wasn't even close to finished. By the time spring rolled around again, Dylan was circling the drain financially. I'd monitored his credit reports, watched his LLC filings like a hawk. He'd taken out a personal line of credit to keep the Milwaukee project afloat, and it was drowning. Quietly, I used another shell alias to request zoning documents through public channels, then forwarded them with some unanswered compliance questions to the city licensing office. That triggered a second delay on the site, and the delay meant payments missed, which meant lawsuits. I didn't need to attack him directly. I just made sure all his bad choices were brought into the light. He started laying people off. The guy who once toasted overpriced cocktails and posted about ownership mindset was now begging for bridge loans. A mutual friend told me Dylan was off lately, drinking more, snapping at everyone. Claire wasn't doing much better. The reputation hit at her job had long legs. She was still employed, still showing up in pencil skirts and power heels, but her name had a shadow behind it. She got passed over for 2 straight campaigns. People smiled in meetings, but their eyes slid past her like she wasn't even there. And then came the cherry. Her ex-coworker, the one she once sabotaged, got promoted to the spot Claire had gunned for. Deservedly, too. The woman had talent. Unlike Claire, she didn't climb by stepping on necks. I hadn't made all that happen, just nudged the dominoes. Then I did one last thing. I sent Claire a photo, printed, no return address, of her and Dylan kissing in a hotel elevator, the one from 2 years before our engagement ended. I'd pulled it from a traffic cam I hacked during my obsessive phase, back when I was just discovering the affair. On the back of the photo, I'd written only one thing: "He lies to you too." It was a bluff. Dylan hadn't cheated on her, as far as I knew. But doubt is poison, and she'd already swallowed some of it over the years. She stopped showing up to social events after that, deleted her Instagram, her glow dimmed. Soon, they weren't together anymore. I didn't celebrate when I heard they'd broken up. I just sat with it, let the silence be its own reward. Claire moved back in with her sister in Oak Park, according to public records. Dylan listed his company as inactive a few months later. His condo was foreclosed on. No fanfare, no big confrontation, just a slow, steady collapse. Nobody knew I was behind it. They still don't. To the outside world, Marcus Halden just disappeared after the engagement ended, moved jobs, changed circles, focused on personal growth. And I did. But not the kind they imagined. What I learned is this: revenge doesn't come with music swelling or one big final blow. It's the silence afterward, the permanent dent in someone's life that they can never quite explain. Did Claire deserve forgiveness? Maybe. Did Dylan make one mistake too many? Possibly. But that wasn't the point. They knew what they did, and I let them live long enough to feel every inch of what they took from me. Trust, friendship, future, all returned with interest. I didn't torch their lives. I took them apart, piece by piece, like a craftsman. Now, I sleep fine.